This trade tree means a lot to me because I actually got to see this trade go down in person. It might not sound like much when I tell you what it is, but it's led to a significant player on the Toronto Maple Leafs today and someone who is etched in St. Louis Blues history. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Carl Gunnarsson for Roman Polak trade. I know. Not exactly the sexiest names in the world. I mean, we've done Eric Lindros, we've done Wayne Gretzky, we've done some very big names, but this trade tree is more significant than you think. First, let me take you back in time. It's the 2014 NHL draft in Philadelphia, and I am there for the first time. I've never been to a draft before. And what's important about this story, and anybody who's ever been to the NHL draft understands this, it was day 2. What do you know about day 2 if you show up in person? It's a lot quieter. There are fewer people there, and the people who show up early, they leave at some point. It's a lot more casual. Oh, and a lot of people are hungover. I should probably mention that as well. But all of a sudden, on the loudspeaker, we have a trade to announce. The trade was Carl Gunnarsson and a 4th-round pick in 2014 going to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for Roman Polak heading to the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was quiet for a few seconds after that, like deadly silent. You could hear the echo of the announcement around the arena. Until one guy somewhere in the stands goes, "That's a terrible trade!" Everybody in the building heard it. Everybody, including the Leafs and Blues management teams who were sitting on the floor where the ice usually is. But who is it terrible for? Well, let's take a look. Carl Gunnarsson was not a flashy player in the National Hockey League, but he played his part. He didn't put up a lot of goals or points. In fact, he only had 15 goals and 52 points in 325 career games as a member of the St. Louis Blues. But that's the thing, he played 325 games with the Blues. If you've watched enough of these trade trees, you know that I value that. Games played is not nothing. I know you want the guy who scores the rocket and he scores 50 goals, whatever. 325 games of service, that's a lot. Also a factor with Carl Gunnarsson, he came up with the, Dion Phaneuf Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, he saw some stuff. But then after he's traded to the St. Louis Blues, oh, how his fortunes changed. 61 Stanley Cup playoff games for Carl Gunnarsson. And this is by far my favorite Carl Gunnarsson stat. He didn't light it up, like I mentioned. He only had 6 career Stanley Cup playoff points with the Blues. Only one of those points was a goal. He had 1 Stanley Cup playoff goal with the Blues. And it just so happened to be the overtime winner of Game 2 of the 2019 Stanley Cup Final. Honestly, one of the biggest goals for the St. Louis Blues during that Stanley Cup run. Not just the fact that it won a Stanley Cup final game, that's obvious, but the Bruins were actually leading that series that went to 7 games. The Bruins were leading that series 1-0 over the Blues at that time. If Gunnarsson doesn't score that goal, the Bruins go the other way and they win that, taking the 2-0 series lead? Who knows? But I guess we'll never know, in part thanks to Carl Gunnarsson. And as a result, Carl Gunnarsson is a Stanley Cup champion. Forever. And as you probably remember, he recently retired, so his part of the trade tree is done. Then there's the 4th-round pick, and this is actually a player who was on the St. Louis Blues this past season. With that 4th-rounder, 94th overall in 2014, the St. Louis Blues select goaltender Ville Husso. He made his NHL debut this past season, playing in 17 games and starting 15 of them with a record of 9-6-1 with an .893 save percentage. Not the greatest save percentage in the world, but he did have a winning record, and this trade happened 7 years ago, and the Blues still have a guy from it. So Gunnarsson retired, we know that part of the tree is done forever. Ville Husso, we'll see what happens with the rest of his career, but for now, the St. Louis Blues half of this trade tree is done. And I think they're perfectly fine with that. It helped them get a cup. Then there's the Toronto Maple Leafs. With Roman Polak, I had to catch myself here because I looked at all the games he played as a Leaf, but I had to remember, oh, wait a sec, Roman Polak was a Leaf twice. Roman Polak was this big, brawny, net front presence defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he shot right-handed, which instantly increases his value. He had 6 goals and 22 points in 111 games. And this was the first time he was a Leaf, because in 2016, you might remember, the San Jose Sharks pretty good and kinda going for it, and the Toronto Maple Leafs stunk. It's one of the things the Leafs have been the most successful at in recent memory. In 2016, their goal was to finish in last, and by gum, no one was gonna stop them. So, sellers at the trade deadline, the Toronto Maple Leafs package Roman Polak and forward Nick Spaulding and send them to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for Rafi Torres, a second-round pick in 2017, and a second-round pick in 2018. And the return becomes even better because you discover the Leafs got to have their cake and eat it too when Polak returned to the Leafs after this 2016 Cup run with the Sharks. Roman Polak and Nick Spaulding played 24 games each in the 2016 Stanley Cup playoffs for the San Jose Sharks, and they combined for 1 assist. And before any Leafs fans watching this laugh too hard, remember that neither player was exactly a goal scorer, and also they got to play in 24 Stanley Cup playoff games in the same year, so I think they did pretty well, actually. But what was the return? Because there were 2 picks, and who's the other guy? Rafi Torres was briefly a Toronto Maple Leaf. At least that's what his paycheck said. On October 3rd, 2015, earlier in the 2015-16 season, Rafi Torres was suspended 41 games for a hit to the head against Jakob Silfverberg. He's a big reason why people talk about repeat offender stuff whenever someone, probably Tom Wilson, gets suspended or has some sort of supplemental discipline. Because Rafi Torres would do something, get suspended, come back, do something again, get suspended for longer until it became a 41-game, half a season suspension. So for the purposes of this deal, Rafi Torres was basically a cap dump, and the Leafs never used him and they never traded him, so his branch of the trade tree is done. Then there's the second-round pick in 2017. This is where Lou Lamoriello comes in, because this pick was actually flipped. The Leafs packaged this pick that they got from the San Jose Sharks with a first-round pick in 2016, 30th overall. The Leafs got it from the Penguins in the Phil Kessel trade, and they sent those picks to Anaheim in exchange for goaltender Frederick Anderson. Those picks have done pretty well for the Anaheim Ducks so far. Sam Steele was the first rounder, Maxime Comtois was the second. But to say the Leafs shouldn't have done that or Freddie didn't work out is revisionist history hugely. During that rookie year, that Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Hyman and Kapanen towards the end of it, he wasn't even part of it till the end of it year. Frederick Anderson, after a rocky start, was a rock back there for the Toronto Maple Leafs for several years. Freddie Anderson played in 268 games as a goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I looked it up on hockeyreference.com. 267 of them were starts. He had a record of 149, 74, and 36, which I don't think you need to look it up. That's good. And he also had a .914 save percentage in the regular season for the Leafs, which doesn't quite accurately tell the story. Anderson's first 3 seasons in Toronto, he was unbelievably consistent with a .918 save percentage, followed by a .918 save percentage, followed by a 17 save percentage. It wasn't until injuries started really catching up with him in the 2019-20 season that his numbers plummeted. He had a .909 save percentage that season, and in this past season, he had an .895. Not the Freddie we were accustomed to. And I found a stat that's going to make some Leafs fans pull their hair out, from the roots out of their head. Freddie, .914 save percentage in the regular season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. His career playoff save percentage? .916. He was better. Oh, you want me to look up his save percentage in elimination games? Oh, I don't have the strength. But a couple things I should mention here. At the time I'm shooting this, I just sat through like 8 hours of the second day of the NHL draft. Right now, it doesn't look like Freddie's going to return to Toronto. He's going to leave in free agency. So his branch will be done. But I think it's important to acknowledge everything that he gave the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they would have been really, really bad without him for a while. But then there's the question, wait a sec, Freddie Anderson on this trade tree was acquired with a second and a first. The second is what's relevant to this trade tree because it's the pick that the Leafs got from San Jose. Here's the argument I would make. Is it the primary pick that the Ducks got in order to get this trade for Frederick Anderson done? No. But does the deal get done without it? No. Not a chance. We're talking the 30th pick and the 50th pick. One thing I've read in the past few years, after you get past like pick 20 in the draft, the difference between pick 30 and 50 in terms of value, not that much. So when it comes to this part of the trade tree, there's no shoehorning, it's legit. But then there's another rather large part here because there was a second rounder. That second rounder in 2018 from the San Jose Sharks, 52nd overall, was used to select defenseman Sean Durzi. Now this one hurts my heart a little bit because I got really excited for Sean Durzi. He seemed like a neat prospect and he was excited to be part of the Leafs system. And he was pretty good. Here's the problem. When you're a pretty good prospect for a team that's trying to buy at the deadline, you might be getting shipped out of town. And he was. Before the 2019 trade deadline, Sean Durzi was packaged with another prospect, Carl Grundstrom, and a first-round pick in 2019 and sent to the LA Kings in exchange for Jake Muzzin. Now, there have been some deals in recent memories where the Leafs have given up futures and fans just sort of put their face in their hands. The Nick Foligno one is tough. Please don't make me do that trade tree, ever, please. But this is one where most of the people I talk to look at the steep price and they go, yeah, but Jake Muzzin. For a few seasons now, Jake Muzzin has provided something that the Toronto Maple Leafs have lacked. Size, nastiness, a bomb of a shot, and a lot of playoff experience, which has been hard to come by. He's already played in 136 games with the Toronto Maple Leafs in the regular season, 15 goals, 51 assists for 66 points, and he's going to be a key part of the roster for years to come with his contract extension. And until Jake Muzzin is traded or something, this trade tree is done. Here's what's very funny to me about this trade tree, because often with these trade trees, you'll see a clear buyer and a clear seller. We didn't have that in this deal, but the outcome looked a lot like it. The St. Louis Blues get a key component that helped them win a Stanley Cup. That's all you want out of a buying deal. And let's not forget Villiuso, who is still on the team. And the Leafs with Roman Polak, yes, he was on the Leafs for a while before this trade, but then he was a key part of the rebuild. In June 2014, the Leafs didn't know they were as bad as they were, like not even close. But by getting Roman Polak, a big and scary right-handed defenseman, those have so much value in the National Hockey League, they were able to flip him, get some assets to help them rebuild, and then they got him back. That's tidy business. And then with those pieces to rebuild, they did. They got a goalie who they used for half a decade, and they got a defenseman who they locked up for half a decade after they got him. Surprisingly, this deal that didn't really look like much when it happened actually helped both teams greatly. It helped deliver the St. Louis Blues their first ever Stanley Cup victory, and the Leafs, well, still hoping. Anyway, what do you think of this trade tree? Let me know in the comment box down below. For now, that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. That's not such a terrible trade.